And beyond that, Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida today making some headlines. Governor DeSantis has, I guess we can't really say he's introduced a bill. Best I can tell is he's articulated his desire and released a one-page PDF and perhaps more, but I can't find any of this stuff. There's a one-page PDF. We could read it to you in its entirety, but he is announcing plans to pass something called the Stop Woke Act. Stop the Wrongs to Our Kids and Employees Act.
Wait, is it wrongs to our
Wrongs to Our Kids and Employees Act?
The person comes up to census, invokes MLK.
No.
That's how
This is a continuation of what DeSantis began when he directed the Florida Department of Education to ban the teaching of critical race theory in K-12 schools. This particular act would, when he passes it at some point, codify the Florida restrictions, the ban that already exists, which was supposed to stop CRT forever and change America, but apparently it's not enough. This act would prohibit school districts from hiring CRT consultants. It would also empower folks to seek legal remedy on their own, a la the Texas abortion legislation that was pretty controversial.
Yeah, let's have lots of that.
pretty solid law that everyone agrees is going to stand up.
Yeah, so it's not clear how this would work, but it brings that to mind. And I've seen a few people draw allusion to that. But also a major development here is that it would give people protection from private employers who are woke. If the private employers are doing, again, at the moment, it's somewhat vague and undefined in a dangerous and nefarious kind of way. But if employers are being woke and they're directing their wokeness at their employees, according to this piece of legislation, which does not yet exist, they will be able to sue the shit out of their employer.
So if this is the right reading of it, and I haven't read it, so I'm just,
well, there's barely anything to read.
Okay, so we don't even know.
Yeah, there's a flyer. We do not know what this legislation will look like.
We know that Chris Rufo's excited, though.
Very excited.
No, Chris was on stage
with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be nice if we were in a place where we could actually interrogate him again about this sort of thing. But for whatever reason, I don't talk to that guy very much anymore. So we'll actually have to see precisely what comes out of this. I think the most amusing element of all of this is at some point in this document that they released, they go through a litany of national examples of critical race theory. And there's an example from a Philadelphia elementary school that was encouraging fifth graders to celebrate, quote, Black communism, unquote, and to simulate a Black Power rally to free Angela Davis from prison.
Angela Davis was freed from prison years ago, by the way.
But they also go to Seattle, San Diego, California, Springfield, Missouri, Buffalo, Arizona. The one thing that they don't have here are any examples of this shit happening in Florida, which... So. I don't know.
Mine's relevant.
It's also funny that the same document does note that the Philadelphia school that I mentioned where they were doing the Black communism rally, at that particular school, 87% of the students will fail to achieve basic literacy by graduation. Now, I think that particular data point right there indicates to me precisely what folks ought to be focusing on and just what people need in order to push back against the insanity that is taking place in certain public schools, but apparently not so much in Florida anyways.
You know, that suggestion that this might expand into other fields has been very quickly realized, hasn't it?
It's been almost 6 months, just 6 months. And they've gone from, it's not censorship. These are taxpayer funded schools. Now they want legal restrictions on the speech of private companies.
I mean, it's just like I
want to shout out Camille Foster, of all people, for correctly identifying back in July, was it? When you teamed with some hysterics to write a piece for the New York Times. One hysteric and a couple other people to write a piece warning about these anti-CRT bills. I saw Camille called on Twitter a cathedral operative.
Yes.
Recently.
Yes.
Cathedral.
Who said that?
Operative.
There's some moron on Twitter.
Somebody that you knew?
No, stranger.
What does that mean?
You don't go down that rabbit hole. That's all I'm going to suggest to you.
Crypto woke.
Yeah. The idea that if you criticize someone who is also quite like Camille Foster, quite like this podcast, has been pointing out the absurdities and the exaggerations of this world.
Kind of critical of this stuff.
Kind of from the beginning.
Yeah.
And even before the beginning.
Because it's fucking stupid.
But if you say, hey, look, that remedy's bad, then you're working for the Borg that wants to do all the terrible things and ram it down your throat. And that, like, Camille's looking to get his head patted, is get his fade, like, massaged by people from this. It's ridiculous. You have to start thinking better, all of you people.
I mean, this seems to be a very bad look. I can't imagine it ends well, but it will perpetuate this culture war into the future and anger people on the left and make people on the right even more upset, because that's the only thing that could possibly matter here. Be able to use this as an election issue for forever, whether or not it improves the lives of
Ron
kids.
DeSantis. Never forget, this is just about Ron DeSantis' political career.
Yeah,
that's it. If you think you're fucking, raising the sword against these horrible people, you're actually just doing Ron DeSantis' bidding to out-Trump everybody. He's one of these people that has the very, very simple idea that the Republican Party is Trump's party now, and the only way I can get ahead of everybody is to out-Trump everybody. Mm-hmm. And I'm a smart guy. I'm a normal guy. I'm sort of reasonable guy, but I'm just going to go, like, what is this what the legislature should be focusing on in Florida, when, as Camille points out, all the examples are outside of Florida?
You should know when you are being played for a symbolic political act, and you should react accordingly, which is with derision for the people who do it. There's a whole superstructure of politicians, of activists, of people who are funding their 501c4s that are really excited because they can excite you about this and loosen your wallet. Don't do it. Look for the bill, look for the language in the bill, and then, like, support it or not. To fucking support a flyer, to support a press conference.
Isn't that? I mean, it's so funny, because what is our
self-respect?
What is our currency here in this podcast? Derision. Pretty much drunken derision. And it's like, if people are surprised that, oh, you don't like this way of handling it, it's like, no. Just derision is the way to go. Make fun of these fuckers and all their dumb policies, and, like, free Angela Davis. It's like, okay, let's have a conversation.
I mean, that's just it. You have the moral high ground, and there is an obvious appropriate response to that sort of excess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, these people do not have the interest of the students who are under their charge at heart. That is not what is motivating them to organize their free Angela Davis mock rally. This is a dangerously bad school system that is actively hurting kids from an academic standpoint. It is morally offensive that these people call themselves teachers and that these institutions refer to themselves as schools. That is a charge that one can get behind. Building better schools, better curriculum, making certain that students have choice and aren't trapped in these schools. That is something that one can meaningfully organize behind. But this other thing, this piece of legislation that doesn't yet exist, that conflates K through 12 education and whatever's happening in private companies. There's a word for the state prohibiting private actors from being able to talk about things in whatever way they like. There's a word for that. I think that word is fucking censorship. Yeah. And we referred to the critical race theory bans, these divisive concepts bans in K through 12 education, as censorship before. And I was told, no, Camille. No. Can't be censorship because it involves the schools and the teachers and these taxpayer dollars. What is the excuse for taking precisely the same model and applying it in the context of a private company? What is the excuse?
They're drunk on their own success.